I'm back with my co-host and very good friend Alaina Mallet, and we're at part three of our Depeche Mode deep dive through a love and devotion lens of all of their music. Alaina,
Yeah,
welcome back.
thanks for having me.
So we just finished up Ultra and Exciter in the last jam-packed episode. Now we're on to Playing the Angel, which is the first album that Dave Gann wrote songs for.
Yeah, yep.
So I want it all. Do you want to
Uh,
start it off?
yeah. I want it all as again, this harkens to their just love is not enough, you know? They want um all of everything. And they even say that it's my desire to give myself to you. Um, and I think it really is again about these feelings of intense love. That love is never easy. It's always intense.
Yeah, this is a very intense album, very aggressive sounding. The
Yeah.
first few tracks, actually, I would say the first half of the album is very much a hard rock sounding album.
Yeah.
And uh, Prejudice is the first music video that I saw, and it is the first real song that Martin actually told people uh,
Right.
what it was about, which was his divorce at the time and its effect on his children. And incredibly intimate and beautiful song. And so nothing's impossible. Another very beautiful song.
Yeah. I think that again, this is about somebody who's left their life and they want back. Um, they sing about um this kind of theme that love lost can be won back and that they say even the stars shine brighter tonight and nothing's impossible. So even maybe this feeling that they're star-crossed
Yeah.
lovers, you know what I mean? And it didn't work the first time, but or a missed connection, but they're hoping this can be rekindled. It's a sad, intense song. Again, like I said, this
Yeah.
album is very intense electronically as well.
Yes.
Um, and this is one of those that is not highly uplifting, but definitely thoughtful.
What about Lillian?
Lillian is about, again, this is Depeche Mode's rare theme of looking at a woman from the outside, versus feeling utterly obsessed with her.
Yeah.
Um, but he kind of does sing about having a love with her. I mean, I take that back. It really is about love. He says, "You took my heart, you ripped it apart, and just for fun." So wait, I take it back. It really is about a woman who's been toying with him. He says you're a loaded gun, and so I think there's just this implication that Lillian's been messing around with his feelings and heart, and has never committed herself to him. Yeah,
And one song they left off the album, but put on the greatest hits they released around this time. It's a song called Martyr
yeah,
that is another. banger
Oh
that
yeah, totally.
would have fit
Yeah.
perfectly in the middle of the album. It's so mouth-watering.
Yeah.
That's a very strange phrase to describe a song, but the music and
Yeah.
the lyrics are one, two, three, four punch.
Yeah.
And it's this album as a whole is aggressively electronic, another total opposite
Yes.
from what they went through with Ultra, what they explored on Exciter. This band is very good at reinventing themselves
Mm.
from
Yeah.
album to album.
Yeah.
And you see that uh, with their next album, which is their most philosophical and metaphysical, taking on exploring the universe as a whole with the aptly named sounds of the universe.
Yes. Um, album starts off, and we're also going to go with the song In Chains.
Yeah,
Because In Chains is a tormented song,
yeah,
tormented love. And that's really, it speaks for itself.
yep,
I think Chains is just worth going to listen to versus me describing it. It's another one of those kind of bangers, the slow banger, which is kind of like Dead of Night. It slams. That's what I'm looking for. I'm like, it's a slamming song. It
yeah,
slams, it hits. Um, starts out slow. It's a long song for Depeche Mode.
yeah.
It's much longer, but
For a opener too.
it climbs. It's one of those songs that just gets climatic and just keeps
Yeah,
going and going and going and escalating. And that's what I like about it. But it's pretty straightforward. It's really just about feeling enchained to somebody and
yeah.
not really being able to have a healthy relationship with this person, but you're in chains. You can't seem to leave either.
Yeah, and the first single of the album, Wrong, which we talked about in the other part.
Yeah,
The other series, they always try with the first single of every album to reinvent
yeah,
themselves, which is another creatively genius idea. And I mean, watching the music video, it's like watching a horror show,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
a horror movie in about 5 minutes. It's
yeah,
brilliant for the concept.
yeah.
Uh, and so, fragile tension.
Um, sorry, our local patrol crow is out for his Gestapo stomping through the neighborhood.
Wait, did you
I,
just say local patrol crow?
Yeah, he's got a tune. He comes stamping through the street with his little feet, and he does it every day at the same. And I was like a little distracted, but he literally goes by every house just with his little feet going up, and he just does this casual walk around. It is the funniest thing to watch him.
Could you please take your video the next
I
time
know.
I
I should.
have? I mean, he's the whole entire neighborhood watch program that
Yeah.
you have.
Yeah, it's going to
It's
check on the old lady across the street. He's in her yard. Sometimes he does that. He goes up to a person's door for a while and then he like comes back down. Like he's the funniest little thing. I don't know, or she. It's a funny creature. Yep, here they come back towards the road. They're satisfied they got to which is good. I don't know what determines that everyone's good, but he's funny. Yeah, I swear to God, he's on patrol. I've seen this sucker like fight off hawks. I mean, this guy is like he defends his girlies, you know what I mean? Like the little birds, like he'll start screaming and call all his friends, and they're all just like, wow, like yeah, they've beaten off like a vulture. We saw a vulture one day, and a couple of them took him down. But they all live in this neighborhood. It's the funniest thing. They all have their little paths and their little walks. And yeah. Anyway, so sorry, I was distracted. So fragile tension. Um,
Beautiful distract.
it is a beautiful distraction. I was like, what is moving? And then I was like, oh yeah, just the local Gestapo crow just doing his little stop through the neighborhood on the tar. Nonetheless, it's not like he uses the grass. It's just like, doop.
I
um,
think I may fly across the country and
yeah,
come visit
just to
you
see this.
just so I can see that.
Yeah,
Because that sounds, and what I'm imagining in my head sounds hilarious. Like a
I'm
Dave
not kidding. He still
gone
has,
swagger crow just owning
yeah.
the neighborhood.
Yeah, he's still walking. By the way, he's not lifted a feather and he's two homes down now.
Wow.
Still just walking along. I'm not kidding. He does the whole
Like
row.
he owns the whole
Yeah. And his
neighborhood.
little tail just 12 feet.
So
Anyway, all right. Fragile
fragile
tension
tension.
is really what it is. It's about this is a fragile tension keeping us going. I really think this song could be about something that hasn't come to be yet. You know what I mean? A connection that is there, but they're not making it happen. That's how I've always interpreted it. Is because he also says, what does he say? There's a strangeness and darkness in the air or whatever. So it's like I think he's really kind of talking about how the fragility of like crushes or connections with people outside of your realm or relationships or your existing your little circle, right? And that is fragile, right? It can break any moment or go the wrong direction. um it can make or break you. Those kinds of strange little, that's my interpretation. I could be totally off, but I think it's really about those little nuanced relationships in our lives that
Yeah.
like could either change the whole course of our life because of
Yep.
our overthinking it,
Yep.
or just kind of completely fades all of a sudden, right? And there's that fragile tension. It goes either
Yeah.
way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And next we have Come Back, which I believe is a song Dave wrote. He certainly
About right.
seems like he wrote it. Uh, he, he sings very beautifully on it. Uh, it's a song about longing and wanting a relationship back. It's a song about regret. Uh, and what are your thoughts?
It's a song about regret. It's a song about wishing she'd come back. He says, I'll be waiting patiently. He says, walking a thin white line, and it's really this sad song. He says, in truth and in reality, only kindness, can hide it, or what it says, hey, only kindness can hide it away
Yeah.
or blind it away or whatever. It's like he's really singing about this pain of losing this person and wishing they would follow their heart and come back to him. And I think you nailed it. It's sad. It does sound like a Dave song. He's always very soft and emotional with his lyrics.
He did write it, and he
Yeah,
said at the time it's one of his favorite songs on the album,
yeah,
which I can totally get. It's very sad, it's
yeah.
very sensitive, but it's incredibly beautiful. And the way in which she sings it and evokes emotion in that song is kind of reminiscent of how Martin evokes emotion in home in the bottom line.
Yeah,
Martin has always been very good at
yeah,
doing that. Not that Dave isn't,
right, yeah,
but it's a different flavor entirely when you're singing your own stuff.
yeah. And I think too, not to harp on the song, we got to move on, but like the composition too is very complex and harkens to their industrial sound of the 80s. And I think I just had to mention that is
Yeah,
it
it's
can be a hard song to listen to if you're not in the mood because it is sad and emotional, and yet the sound effects are so fitting, and I love how experimental it sounds, and isn't it's not simple.
I'm glad you brought that up because yes, the music is very complex and the lyrics are exactly opposite.
Yeah,
They're very simple, but they're very grounded. And that makes the song even more beautiful because
yeah,
you have this, I'll just say it, complicated marriage of
sounds, yeah,
simple lyrics, complicated music,
yeah,
two opposites,
yeah,
complicated marriage, partnership, whatever.
yeah,
It's just all in that one song. And it's a beautiful step of maturity for Dan for in his writing career.
yeah.
Miles away, the truth is.
This one's about emotional distance, and it's weird and kooky sounding, and but I really think that this is a song that straight up about connecting properly, right? One is longing
What?
for the not connecting
Okay.
properly. That one is longing for the connection, but the other one's just like, nope, like truth. And that's what this says. The truth is you're miles away. And he's like, well, excuse me for my hesitation, but I think we've been here before,
Yeah.
and so it's like he's kind of, you know, um, he says, your eyes, there's something that I just can't understand, or something like to that effect. And I think he's really just singing about somebody just being absolutely emotionally unavailable,
Yeah.
who he wants to be available, whether they're together or whether it's a date or, whatever it is, right?
And so, what about Corrupt, which is a very interesting title?
Yeah, it's a Dirty Boy song. You can't have a Depeche Mode album without a Dirty Boy song. I mean, come on. Like I said, men, listen up. This is your album, and girls, this is your heater. Like, I mean, just, like Corrupt is it's fun, it's gritty, it's a slamming song again, or as we say, banger. But I think the bangers are the fast pace. I think this one slams. It's a
Yeah.
slam song again. It's not fast, but um it has some slaps to it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's fun. It's just about corrupting you, and you'd be begging and crying out my name. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't need to say more than that. Just go listen to Corrupt. It's a fun one. If you need some fun music tonight, Corrupt is a fun one. So
This is why you're the super fan. This is why you'll always be the super fan. You
thanks.
tell it
Yeah.
like it is. And so we get to the next album, Delta Machine, which I must admit was quite a grower on me. It required a lot of listens. It was actually the third Depeche Mode album that required that. Uh, I came in on sounds of the universe. It was the first new album that I
Yeah,
bought. I came in just in the middle of playing
playing the angel.
Angel
Yeah.
and Sounds. And so Delta Machine was a interesting journey for me. And I still remember your
Rant.
complex love-hate relationship rant
I
with
took
this album.
I took about probably I would say like 5 years before I listened to it again. That's probably the only Depeche Mode album that I didn't even bother a second listen. I was like, screw that. I didn't like it.
Wow.
I think Should Be Higher I took away immediately. Obsessed with Should Be Higher. Um, put that on a playlist for my workout, and that was it. I abandoned the rest of the album for quite some time.
Wow.
I think it was that Matt actually liked Delta Machine, so we were going down a Depeche Mode phase because he was curious about the music I listened to, and he
Who's
liked Delta
that
Machine.
again?
My husband, Matt.
Yeah.
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 Sorry. Oh, for the audience. Okay. I was like,
Yeah. Well, well, no,
I'm a
I
little slow
also
to I'm
want
a little slow to pick up.
I
So Matt, my husband likes Delta Machine. That's his favorite album. Um,
interesting.
yeah, by Depeche Mode.
Really,
So
really interesting.
he likes like
Why?
Heaven. He likes Heaven. He likes Angel.
Okay.
Yeah, he likes the gritty sound of it.
Wow. Okay. That's
He likes to have
fair.
Dave croons on this album, so he really
Yes,
enjoys his
he
crooning.
absolutely does. So
So if we're going
slow
with slow, yeah,
is actually has a very interesting history, and we touched about it in the other series. Slow was actually a song written in the Songs of Faith and Devotion era of the band,
yeah.
was considered for that album, was left off that album and just shelved for years,
Mm,
decades even.
interesting.
And because, again, I do a lot of research, and they just placed it on this album.
Yeah.
Songs of Faith and Devotion, Delta Machine. There is about, I don't even want to hazard a guess, but I have to continue talking about this song while I do calculation.
Yeah, that's all right. So slow is a loving and sexy. I think it's about literally going slow in the bedroom, but I also think he's talking about the romance itself. He talks about let your body go, let your soul go. Like I think he's really talking about taking time to build a deeper connection physically and emotionally. It's not one of my Depeche Mode jams. It's
But it,
again, this album isn't my jam. It's not a slammer, it's not a banger. This album has few bangers on it, and it's but for those who like kind of a croony, bluesy slash industrial combo, it's A good raw song.
So Delta Machine came out in 2013. Songs of Faith and Devotion came out in 1993.
Yeah, so 20 years later.
20 years.
Yeah.
This is the oldest Depeche Mode B-side that we know. Uh,
Yeah.
the oldest song that was probably on someone's hard drive, Martin's
Yeah.
hard drive, and he's like, oh, let's pick up this jam that I wrote 20 years ago.
Right.
I just find that hilarious. I mean,
Yeah.
it fits for
Yeah,
this album. It
it does.
totally fits. But you couldn't know that
Yeah.
20 years in the past.
No. Yeah. It would have been a very different sound then. I mean,
Yeah,
they're both bluesy styles, but like it's
yeah.
I think it fit on Delta.
And so, Soothe My Soul, which again, just by the title, I think you know where this band is going.
Do we? Not everybody see, not everybody knows that. If you're a Depeche Mode fan, you know what Soothe My Soul's
Yeah,
going for, which is a dirty boy banger.
yeah,
And this is also again one of those that I'm glad I re-listened 5 years later in like 2000, 18, 2017, because it was this is one's a banger. This one's back on my faves Depeche Mode list. I think in the midst of my hatred of this album, some of these songs got thrown into the mix, and I didn't really give a listen of like, oh wait, this one's good. You know what I mean?
thank you, Matt.
Yeah. So
Thank you,
Soothe,
husband, for
yeah.
me.
So Soothe My Soul, I would have gotten there eventually. Depeche Mode's in my heart. Soothe My Soul is straight up dirty. It's dirty
Yeah,
talk. It's a dirty song. He says, I'm coming for you like a junkie. And I think that sums up this song. And like I say, complete
yeah.
banger. If you guys need a good running song, turn that sucker on right now. It's fun. It's Dave at his best with his older years, his older version of his voice. It's the lyric "Girl, I'm shaking." I need more. I mean, it's hot. It's a hot, fun, cheeky song.
And so we now move on to Spirit, which was their most overtly political album. It was also, unfortunately, the last album that uh, Andy Fletch recorded with them ever. Uh,
Yeah.
so
So
you move.
another dirty boy, another dirty boy banger. This is our only dirty boy banger on this album. And it's as you said, I like the way you move for me tonight. And it's a lot of Dave just singing the same lyrics over and over. And he does sing a few songs. There's a few lyrics about songs. A few lyrics about which I couldn't even tell you. There's a few lyrics. You don't pay attention to them because all you're hearing is Dave and thinking about how he's demanding you take off your clothes and move for him. So that's really what you pay attention to. This is another one of those electronically fun songs where there's those little twinkle sounds, that I'm talking about that make Depeche Mode so right, is they know where to put the like
Yeah,
and it's like, to me, Depeche Mode synthesizers, if you were to say like, well, what's the difference between them and Daft Punk, right? I love Daft Punk as well. You've got like somebody like Daft Punk or Dead Mouse. Daft Punk specifically is this French, Euro techno, right? Which is really based on the early sounds of disco, but combined with the 90s, tech sound that came out. And they continued to on with that kind of sound, this powerhouse sound of all the electronic throughout the decades, and it's electronically charged. When you
Yeah.
listen to Daft Punk, it's just electro, 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 or somebody like Dead Mouse, right? You're going to their concert and you're just like bow, 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 bow. But like you go to Depeche Mode and there's a story.
Yeah.
And the story is told not just through Dave's voice or Martin's voice or their voices together when they harmonize, but there is something about even the way they use synthesizers as almost their own voice. And so it's like the minute Dave stops or Martin stops, there is a little sound effect. There's something else carrying, these little breaks, right? And so to me, You Move is so complex because dirty and simple, and yet there's these like all these different sounds going, connecting you to the next part. And I think that I just have to discuss that is like You Move is rich. It is very rhythmically and digitally rich comparatively to the rest of this album.
Yeah, it's interesting that it's on this album because of the overall context
Yeah.
of the rest of the album,
Yeah.
which is very, very, very political in nature, and yet that's very raw, very complex, dirty boy song.
Yeah.
It's very weird that they made it fit on this album.
Yeah, I would agree because this album is highly political and kind of even angry, kind of
Yep,
frustrated,
yep,
and it is they did make it fit, but and I say dirty boy songs, but honestly, I'm gonna say that You Move is a awesome banger that I think is really dedicated to the person in their life, the woman in their life. You
yeah,
you don't get the sense that they're asking any random woman. There are
yeah,
some of their bangers that suggest this could be any woman
yeah,
they had an attraction to that day, but like um this one I would specifically say is just somebody they deeply respect, but I think they like that aspect of their
yeah,
relationship, right? And maybe that's kind of how they made it fit. It doesn't sound sleazy. Somehow Dave can sing about sex and not sound like a total sleaze bag. I don't.
yeah.
It's pretty
I
amazing.
mean, this harkens back to their third album, Construction Time Again,
Yeah,
which they really wrote accidentally as a concept political album,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
whereas this album, they very,
Oh,
very, very much
complete anger with first Trump administration. It's very obvious.
embraced Brexit
Brexit.
at
Yeah,
the
there's
time. It was, yeah, and so I bring up that comparison because it's very apt.
it's true.
And
You
so,
can
yeah,
hear it on the whole album because they live here in the US now for the last 30 years, but they're from England. And so you like you said, you can hear both themes and you can tell which song is about which. I mean, it's very powerful, very straightforward lyrics, just for anybody's reference, not to drag that out. But like you said, Construction Time was a totally different vibe on the job crisis going on in England, in the 80s versus now they're just watching everything go straight to
hell,
hell
yeah,
in their
yeah.
home
I
country.
mean, there's no polite way to say that.
Yeah.
Cover me.
Um, this is a sweet, vulnerable song. About
Again, it's interesting how and why they made it fit on
yeah,
this
it
album.
is. It is very much. Again, this can also teeter on religion. And it's an interesting concept song too. It's an interesting concept. The song is cosmically thoughtful and yet also electro and twinkly and kind of, you know what I mean, gritty and twinkly at the same time. This is the magic of Depeche Mode, and I think Cover Me is one of their magical hidden songs that I'm not going to listen to every day, but man, when it comes on, sometimes you're like when this one comes on, you're like, oh, I forgot how much this one really picks
Yeah.
up. Um, so yeah, I think that's all you can say about it. It's really about finding somebody you can trust or finding a person of your belief that you can trust, and be covered by, you'll cover me, right? I really do think it's more aligned with somebody here on earth,
Yeah.
finding a partner you can trust,
Yeah.
but through all the shit, right, that they're
Yeah.
singing about on this album.
What about Eternal?
Uh, I gotta listen to that. Hold on. That's one of those again that I'm like, I think I just forget. That's a slow start. Does this have lyrics? Is this the one that, oh, we're fucked? Did I put this one on here?
Yeah. We can skip it.
I think I'm gonna skip it. I don't remember putting this
Okay,
on here.
so much love.
Sorry, I was like, I don't remember
No
putting this one on here.
problem.
Okay, so much love. Dave, I mean, Dave again, like belts this one out. This reminds me of Lillian, you know what I mean? Kind of the way he sings it. It's a rushing song, has a rushing beat. Um, he's powerful in how he's singing it. And I really think it's just about finding again that self-love and wanting to share it with everybody and finding that higher power in yourself. And it really is a straightforward song if you listen to it. You know what I mean? The straightforward ones are hard to describe because you're like, it's pretty, but it's one of the bangers on the album. It's fast, it's energetic. Do you have more to add to that?
No. And now we've come full circle. We're at their most recent album, Memento Mori, which was another grower. Uh, in fact, their last three albums have been growers on me. And but this one has meant the most to me over time. And unfortunately, Fletch did not hear any of these
Yeah.
songs. He would have absolutely loved them. He would have lost his mind over these songs. They
Yeah.
are some of the best songs that the band has written in quite some time. This is probably the greatest concept album in my mind that they have written since Songs of Faith and Devotion. It is
Yeah.
a pure meditation on life, depth,
Yep.
its meaning, and all of that. And we touched about it so much in the last part of our last mini series together. What are your thoughts on the song Don't Say You Love Me?
Yeah, this one's actually a sadder one, right? It's a reflection on a relationship that isn't going well and the roles we play in it, you know. So he says, you play the killer, I'll play the saint. And I think it's about the fingers we point in a relationship
Yeah,
and the victimization we take on. And so in the end, he says, don't say you love me because you never loved me. And so it's a sad love song. This is kind of the antithesis of love. It's the end of a relationship.
yeah.
Yeah. But it's good. I like it. It's a rhythmic song. It's a good composition. I like this one.
What about Before We Drown, which is a Dave track, and it's extremely haunting.
It is. This one again is about a classic Dave song, longing to come home and repair, and that they've been split apart. And he says, you know, I've been thinking I could come back home, and how would that be if you and I were alone? Um, and I think there's this concept that he talks about relationships do go through ups and downs. He says,
Yeah,
first we stand up and then we fall down, but we have to move forward before we drown. And
yeah,
I think it's just about that you can't react every time a relationship has a hiccup. You know, you do have to work through together.
yeah,
Um, and it's haunting. It's a beautiful song. I think this one, the complexity, as I said on the last part, people heard me gush about this album. I'd say this comes in my second fave album. And I'm absolutely enthralled with it, and I think Before We Drown is just one of those is like the the sounds, the compositions are so sweeping and beautiful, and go listen to it, you know.
yeah. Always You.
Haunting as well. Uh this one I think is that crossover. That's why we've talked about it twice now. And we're talking about the second time right now is this is could be about a higher figure, but it could also be about a person who they're in love with. He sings My Love, the world's upside down. Too absurd, you know, is going on about his thoughts about life. But then he says, but then there's you, and it's always you, it's always you. You're the light that leads me from the darkness.
Yeah,
Um, there is this sense that throughout the chaos of life, you know, that there's this figure who is helped them feel like there's any reason, you
yeah,
know, to make sense of anything. And so, um, again, haunting. I think digitally, this song is incredible.
yeah.
This is one of my top faves by Depeche Mode at this point. Probably put in the top. I have too many top tens. There's probably more of a top 20 at this point,
Yeah.
but it ranks in there and in the tops. Um, yeah, that's how I interpret it.
And what about Never Let Me Go?
This one is a banger. We talked about this before. I got super stoked about Never Let Me Go. Um, I think this is probably directly about a person. We've done the crossover with this one as well. This is the second time we've mentioned it. I think just because you can interpret it as a higher power.
Yeah,
But there are some lyrics that suggest it's about a human and about a woman
yeah,
who he's in love with and obsessed with. And he does say, because the lyrics like, I've been patient and I've been so calm. Please
yeah,
stop with the torment and fall into my arms. So I think that really is more about a woman he's in love
yeah,
with.
yeah,
And that is taking her sweet time getting to the we're together, I'm trusting you point. But it's hot, it's dark, it's seedy, it's extreme, it's intense for no apparent good reason. And I think it's the best second to last song on an album on all the Depeche Mode albums. So
yeah. I mean, we mentioned at the end of the last minute series we did, one of the last songs we talked about was a Martin led track, Soul with Me.
yeah.
And the thing I forgot to say in response to that song is the ending track, Speak to Me, which is a Dave song.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think pretty perfectly parallels,
Yeah.
or uh yeah, parallels that song. The album as a whole is a very mature album from guys who have been Around the World and Back Again countless times over. It's a very aware album of we are in the in game. I mean,
Yeah.
not the in game, but the golden years of our lives. And we just lost one of our best friends. And it this this is the most complete on a album that they have sounded since playing the Angels, since
Yeah.
Exciter, that cohesion, that synergy. I mean, we've talked to death, pun very much intended, on Wagging Tongue, a song Dave and Martin co wrote together, which they never do. They should absolutely do that
Yeah.
more because, and in fact, if they had to write another album, they should just co-write songs together because
Yeah.
they're writing together. I mean, they could have co-wrote Goats again
Yeah.
together. And I mean, that song in and of itself, in my mind, sums up the entire album as a whole. That's another title track they could have used, and no one would have bad eye.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a perfect ending if they choose to go out on this album.
I think so.
Yeah, but it's also the maturity of you never know where they're going to go next, and they always reinvent themselves. Like in songs in the documentary for Songs of Faith and Devotion, Dave said no one in the band had any interest in going back into the studio
Yeah.
and saying, let's create Violator 2.
Right. Yeah.
And they do that across every album. They treat every album as its own project and they just reinvent themselves.
Yeah.
Its band is really good at consistently doing that over years and years. No one can say they don't do this. Even
Yeah.
on the two albums we didn't talk about, which is Speak and Spell and A Broken Frame. Those are two very different albums. They're
Yes.
similar in the musicianship, but they're different albums.
Yeah. And I think since we're wrapping this up, it's not to say those aren't Depeche Mode albums. You were just following kind of Martin's the way he jokes about how they don't
Oh
really
yeah,
feel like their essence.
he
Um,
yeah.
they deserve their credit. I listen to them, so just for our listeners, I still think Speak and Spell and Broken Frame are awesome albums. And Have some incredible songs. I mean, one of my favorites on Broken Frame is Sun in the Rainfall.
Yeah.
Just kind of strange and eerie and
Yep.
thoughtful and strange. See You Again is a great one off their first album, right? Is that off Speak and Spell or Broken
No,
Frame?
you is on Broken Frame.
Broken Frame, yeah.
And
Um,
see you was actually a song that Martin wrote
mm,
when he was a teenager.
oh, you believe it. I mean, it's a very teenage song, but
I I mean, yeah, I mean, you can't not believe that, but the fact that a teenager had a song like that in his back pocket, it's like,
he's a mature dude, and I just think those albums deserve some cred. Like one from Speak and Spell's Photograph of You. That's a great one.
yeah,
They're fun. Speak and Spell's a little more sparkly, a little more
yeah,
digital. Definitely the very early 80s. It's 81,
yeah,
1981. Yeah. So we're talking like this is the first all synth, I think, album that like most people had heard from a pop band.
yep,
If you're disregarding disco and the discotheque of Europe. Um, so I do want listeners to know that they're awesome albums. Alan Wilder was on Speak and Spell, right, but like just wasn't quite initiated yet as Depeche Mode. And I think that's just worth noting is the darker sound definitely hit on Broken Frame,
yeah,
versus Speak and Spell. Vincent Clark was a much more upbeat, sparkly sounding composer, going on to
yep,
create Erasure and Yazoo, or
yeah,
Yazoo, and more sparkly bands of the
yeah,
80s. And but with that all being said, I think their epic near their 44-year career now
yeah,
has been nearly 45 years has been. They've created incredible music. There's part of me that wants them to end on Memento Mori, and then there's part of me that would love to hear and one more album, of course, with some awesome bangers. And I think it is interesting. It's down to two of them, and just to kind of retie back to your idea of how did the two of them do this awesome album together at the end of it all. And I think it's funny that they talk about putting their gloves down and finally being friends, and maybe not having Andy there was kind of this odd meant to be,
well,
is allow the singers of the group, the writers and the singers of the group, to really have their moment. Because as Dave says, he felt like Andy Fletcher was always kind of buddy buddy with Martin and a peacemaker in the group, and that Dave never felt like he could get quite in. And I think there's an interesting concept that you remove that component, and Martin and Dave maybe got their moment to really geek out over each other and respect what each other do. And I think that created ultimately this really intense and likable album, where they put down the gloves and allowed each other to flourish as each other are.
which is very interesting because A Broken Frame was the first time that they were really forced to reinvent
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah,
And they carried that reinvention and that inner and outer darkness
yeah,
throughout literally all of their albums. Uh,
yeah,
and it's interesting that they have said, and you read in some article or listened to some podcasts in which they confess they want really friends
yeah,
for folk. And I, I, I just, that blows my mind off
Yeah.
clear. If my head could come off at this moment, it would do that because
Yeah.
these guys have traveled the world countless
Yeah.
times for almost 50 years.
Yeah.
How Dave's the lead singer. Martin, for much of the band's career, was the only songwriter.
Yeah.
How do you how are you not more than acquaintances? I I mean, I don't expect you two to be best friends, but I also kind of do because
Yeah.
Martin is literally feeding Dave his bread and butter for both of them. And
Yeah.
so it's like, what is friendship to these two dudes that have
Yeah.
been together for longer than most marriages
Yeah.
last? It's
Well,
like,
it's a day job.
yeah, no, it's deja, but I mean, a question I would love to ask Martin, other more than the meaning behind any song, it's just that. I just it's a day job, yes, but that line, that excuse, that justification can only take you so far. And when you're traveling around the world for nearly 50 years,
I'm sure they don't hate
how?
each other, but I know Dave's talked about jealousy, that Martin wrote, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
as he said, about it was about what 15 years ago he said, or 20 years ago, he finally relaxed and it hit him that Martin's songs are a break on stage for him. But he's like, man, when I was younger, I was so overwhelmed that Martin was going to take over my singing parts, and I was just going to be booted out of the band. And I think there is that probably young hot-headedness, right? Of here's
yeah,
the one who's really holding the power of the band. Martin wields the majority of the power. And
yeah.
Dave, I think, felt, yeah, you're the singer and you're worshipped and everybody's looking at you first, you know what I mean? But I think he understood the fragility of that. That doesn't mean anything. If you can't write the songs, if you're not the
Fragile
contributor,
tension.
yeah,
Fragile
the
tension.
fragile
Not
tension.
a pun,
Yeah,
not this time.
yeah,
Very, very much what you just said. And it's interesting because we've touched on that in the last episode. It's a very peculiar band dynamic. Like Martin could have taken over the band. He could have kicked Dave out. He could have become the rock star, the frontman. Everyone would have expected that because that's what people assume from a lead songwriter.
and I think that would be understandable for Dave to have felt that way.
Yeah,
And
yeah, of
I mean,
course.
even Alan, the from what we understand, right, what the public's been told, and we don't know these guys for
Yeah,
real, right? So there's a lot of this is speculation or whatever they've given us in interviews. But Alan, had really heavily implied that he felt not part of the band, you know? And so
Yeah.
when you think about it, it's like 10 years of being part of a band and you still don't feel part of the band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's like sitting there composing their songs, you know, with Martin. And as he said, but here's Andy Fletcher, you know, getting all the cred just simply because he grew up with Martin and was in the band before me by one album.
Yeah.
And he made
Literally
that,
one album.
yeah. And Alan pointed that out. They said in his leaving of the band, he was, you know, I think fairly clear with the public that he felt sidestepped,
Yeah.
underpaid, underrecognized, and not given enough power in the band when he really was probably why they had their sound. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
think he knew it.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's not to put Andy down, but Andy was up front him as you said, Andy's claim to fame is being their biggest cheerleader. He
Oh
played the
yeah.
music the way they wanted it played. He
Yeah.
didn't create a song, he didn't
Yeah.
write a song, he didn't write compositions.
Because
Um,
he not only did he know he didn't have to, he probably didn't want to. I
yeah.
mean, it's like
And
that in he left that duty in very capable hands, more capable hands than he knew he had.
there's always that bandmate. Not all bands need to have every guy be absolutely creative, right? Or girl.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think that's the reality that like you said, how'd they go all that time without Dave and Martin being besties? And you're like, I think the reality is they're not saying they hated each other. I think it's just, as Dave said, when I was younger, I was certainly threatened by Martin
yeah,
and intimidated and worried about my position in the band. And then I think later, as he said, he matured, um, started to ease up and realize, like you said, oh, this is nice. I can take a break on stage and drink some water while Martin does two or three songs
yeah,
and take a nap. He'd laugh, you know, now he laughs with Martin about it. But
yeah,
even when I was watching the documentaries, you saw these dynamics from earlier on in their career, and Martin is like this with him. I'm like, you know, while Dave's talking, they're sometimes sitting apart on couches. And
yeah,
now you're seeing them as these two old guys, and they're like, right? Like, you know, hitting each other's shoulders. They're telling stories in tandem. And you can really tell there is this sense of not that they hated each other. I think it's more that the gloves came off in terms of like, I am no longer threatened. I'm no longer competing. I realize that we both brought incredible strengths and we are now 60 something years old.
yeah,
I don't think I'm getting kicked out of the band.
yeah,
And what's crazy is that you think about a rock star feeling that insecure all this time
yeah,
and realizing like I made it.
yeah.
Made the band. You know what I mean? And you're like,
It's
yeah, dude, it's 45 years later. You made the band. Like,
yeah,
and I think that they're finally going like, okay, you ready to enjoy this?
yeah,
You know what I mean? Are we ready to have fun? And this last concert, I mean, even young people went to the concert. People online, they hit streaming records.
yeah,
You know, they hit concert ticket records. They extended their tour. Um, you know, there was people online, young Instagrammers, like videoing them and putting on like, this is the best performance I've ever been. And you could see how much fun the two of them were having.
yeah,
And I really think what I mean when I say the gloves came down, what Dave probably ultimately meant was like, oh, I made the band.
yeah,
I should really enjoy myself.
yeah.
I don't need to get
And
on stage and worry if I'm going to get cut. Like this is happening. This is real. Everybody's here for us. And maybe it took the death of Andy to kind of see that, but
yeah,
it's I think they've had an epic story and I'm glad they pushed through after he died and didn't give up on this album because it really I think show like you said highlights both of them and their skills and when it
yeah.
merged together it was better than anything I think they'd ever come up with.
Yeah, no. The last thing I would say about Alan is that I remember watching the songs documentary and uh, the the end of the album, the end of the recording, Martin and Alan are having this huge fight
Mm-hmm.
over the song Judas. and they're
Mm.
sitting together on the
Yeah.
couch having this huge fight.
Yeah.
And so I don't blame him at all for leaving like he did. But with Martin, it was really interesting because just like I mentioned in the last pod, if you hear the final minute of Banana Tonight, where Martin is just harmonizing the background vocals.
Yeah.
And I'm probably reading way too much into that. But whenever Martin was questioned, why don't you switch up the band? Why don't you sing more? I mean, you write the songs. Martin was always like, why would we do that? I like
Yeah.
the band the way it is. And,
Yeah.
and he said that for decades.
Mm.
And I mean, so he bucked the trend of a songwriter who knew he could write
Yeah.
great songs. He just didn't want to sing them. He sang a few, but even then, when questioned about what makes it a Dave vocal song, what does it make a Martin vocal song? His answer was, it comes down to, does it sound better in my vocal range or
Yeah.
does it sound better in Dave's vocal range? And so I can understand why Dave was so jealous, so
Yeah.
afraid. But again, Mont and they've had their back and forths. We've alluded to that, but you gotta think that it feels so silly to them now because they've not only traveled the world countless times, they've basically traveled life together. And
Yeah.
if anything, Martin would have kicked Dave out of the band. Clearly, after Violator, after their big, big album, which catapulted them to superstardom.
Yeah.
But Martin didn't. I mean, Martin's no saint, none of them all, none of us all.
Yeah.
But this band dynamic hasn't changed from the inception of
Yeah.
the band. So, I mean, yeah, great. They're enjoying their final years together. But I hope they laugh about all the tension, all the fragile tension,
Yeah.
all the butting heads, boxing gloves on, because, yeah, they made it, but they always made it together. I mean,
Yeah.
the final thought I will say about this album, Memento Mori, is the reason why this album came to be is because Martin Gore wrote 4 or 5 songs with Richard Butler. I don't know
Mm.
who that is.
Yeah, nor do
Uh,
I.
but he, Martin, thought that these songs were way too good for a side project. And so
Yeah.
he called Richard and he said, do you mind if I put these on the new Depeche Mode album? Yeah,
Mm.
sure. Just credit me. And it's like that's the type of creative Martin was. It's I'm sure he's grown. I'm sure he wasn't always like that.
Yeah.
That is primarily why we have their greatest
Yeah.
concept album. Alaina, I I've gushed and fawned over everything you've done for me throughout my life, throughout our time together. But the most important thing was taking the chance to get to know me, a person you didn't know from Adam, and I didn't know you from Eve. And I had to pull that
Totally get it.
pun in,
My
but you introduced me to this band, and for that, I will be eternally grateful. I could have never imagined last year doing a total of 7 episodes
yeah.
with you on this band that we both hold dear in our hearts. And I just, I, I really love and appreciate the gift that you've given me over almost 20 years now. And
Yeah.
I will always be in your creative debt for really transforming my appreciation of music. Their music has bled into my own writing, my own electronica, and I have you and you alone to thank for that. And so thank you for going on this journey with me and for changing the trajectory of my creative output. And your friendship means the absolute world to me. Thank
Well,
you.
you're welcome. Thank you for being my friend and providing friendship. And thanks for including me on this journey. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Bye.